Caitlin Clark has been having one of the most talked about rookie seasons in WNBA history. But now, something shocking has happened that's shaking up the entire league. After a heated game that had everyone on edge, the WNBA has made a controversial decision to kick out none other than Sophie Cunningham. And let me tell you, Caitlin Clark is absolutely furious about it. The whole basketball world is now buzzing over what went down, and this moment could very well change the dynamics of the season moving forward. So, how did things get to this point? Let's take a look. The tension between players this season has been mounting for weeks, especially surrounding Caitlin Clark, who's been the target of some rough treatment on the court. From hard fouls to blatant trash talk, it seems like everyone has been trying to test the rookie star. But one player who consistently had Caitlin's back was Sophie Cunningham. She stood up when others wouldn't and refused to let Clark be bullied. But that loyalty has now cost her, and the WNBA's decision has left both Clark and fans stunned. It all began during what should have been a typical mid-season matchup. The Indiana Fever were facing off against one of their biggest rivals in what was expected to be a hard-fought game. Everyone in the building could feel the tension. After all, it was no secret that certain players had been targeting Caitlin Clark with overly aggressive play. This wasn't just about basketball anymore, it was personal. Right from the opening tip, the physicality was off the charts. Every time Clark touched the ball, defenders swarmed her with elbows, shoulders, and the kind of contact that bordered on dangerous. And it wasn't just during live play. Players were bumping her off the ball, taunting her verbally, and clearly trying to get inside her head. Despite it all, Clark remained poised, but it was clear that things could boil over at any moment. Then came the play that would ignite a firestorm. Midway through the third quarter, with the Fever clinging to a slim lead, Clark was driving toward the basket when an opposing player delivered a cheap shot that sent her crashing to the floor. The crowd gasped. Players on the bench leaped to their feet, and the referees immediately blew the whistle. But here's the thing. No flagrant foul was called. The refs seemed determined to let them play through it, even though Clark was clearly shaken and slow to get up. That's when Sophie Cunningham had seen enough. She wasn't going to let her teammate, or frankly any player, be treated like that. Cunningham stormed onto the court, got in the face of the opposing player, and let her know that this kind of dirty play wasn't going to be tolerated. What followed was a heated confrontation, with players from both sides exchanging words and the referees scrambling to regain control of the game. In the aftermath, officials reviewed the situation. Many expected perhaps a technical foul for Sophie, maybe offsetting techs, given the emotions running high. But then the announcement came over the arena speakers. Sophie Cunningham had been ejected from the game. The crowd erupted in boos, with Fever fans clearly siding with Sophie. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark looked absolutely stunned, her expression showing pure disbelief that the one player standing up for her was being kicked out. And it didn't stop there. After the game, in an even more shocking move, the WNBA League office announced that Cunningham would be suspended for an additional game due to her unsportsmanlike conduct. The league cited her on-court actions as being detrimental to the image of the game, but many around the league, including players, coaches, and analysts, felt this was a clear overreaction. No one was more upset about it than Caitlin Clark. In her post-game media availability, Clark didn't mince words. She praised Sophie Cunningham for having her back and criticized the league's handling of the situation. "Sophie is one of the toughest competitors I know," Clark said. "She's the kind of teammate you want out there with you, especially when things get physical. To see her get tossed like that and then suspended, when all she was doing was standing up for what's right, I think it's wrong. The league needs to protect its players, and instead it feels like they're punishing the wrong person." Clark's words quickly went viral, with fans rallying behind her and Sophie Cunningham. Social media exploded with messages of support. Hashtags like #FreeSophie and #StandWithSophie began trending, and prominent voices from across the basketball community chimed in. NBA players, former WNBA stars, and even coaches from both men's and women's college basketball weighed in, calling the ejection and suspension unfair and urging the league to reconsider. Meanwhile, Fever head coach Christy Sides was also vocal in her defense of Cunningham. You can't have it both ways, sides told reporters. You can't ask players to show emotion and play with passion and then penalize them for defending their teammates. Sophie wasn't out there throwing punches. She was standing up to bullying behavior. That's the kind of culture we want to build here. I fully support her. What's even more troubling is the larger context of what's happening in the WNBA this season. Many observers feel that Caitlin Clark, being a young superstar and drawing massive attention to the league, has become a target for veteran players who resent the spotlight she commands. And while some level of physicality is expected in professional basketball, what Clark has endured goes far beyond what's acceptable. She's been knocked to the floor, grabbed, hit with off-ball screens that are closer to tackles, and repeatedly disrespected. Sophie Cunningham was one of the few who recognized this and took action. Her ejection and the league's subsequent suspension feels like an attempt to send a message, but many argue it's the wrong one. Instead of deterring rough play, it may discourage players from standing up for their teammates, which could leave players like Clark even more vulnerable on the court. And this is exactly what has Caitlin Clark so furious. She knows that basketball is a physical game and that she'll have to battle through adversity. But she also knows the difference between hard-nosed competition and outright dirty play. In her eyes, Sophie Cunningham's response wasn't unsportsmanlike, it was necessary. I don't think anyone who was in the building tonight thought, Sophie did anything wrong, Clark said. She was protecting me. That's what good teammates do. I'd do the same for her. It's moments like these that can define a team's chemistry and identity. The Indiana Fever have been on a bit of a hot streak lately, thanks in no small part to Clark's stellar play and the leadership of veterans like Cunningham. But now, with the league's actions hanging over them, there's a renewed sense of unity within the team. Fans have also responded in kind. Ticket sales for upcoming Fever games surged in the days following the incident, with supporters eager to show their loyalty and frustration with the league's decision. Fever merchandise featuring both Clark and Cunningham has been flying off the shelves as the team's followers send a clear message: they won't stand for injustice. The controversy has also sparked a larger conversation about how the WNBA treats its rising stars. If the league truly wants to grow and capitalize on the increased attention that players like Caitlin Clark bring, many argue it must do a better job of protecting them. The physical abuse Clark has endured wouldn't be tolerated in most professional sports leagues, and it's time for the WNBA to send a clear signal that this behavior is unacceptable. And make no mistake, Caitlin Clark isn't just furious about what happened to her teammate. She's also determined to use her platform to advocate for change. We love this league, Clark said. We want to see it grow and thrive. But for that to happen, we need to make sure it's a league where players can compete hard but also feel safe and respected. No one should be afraid to play the game they love. As the fallout from this incident continues, all eyes will be on the WNBA leadership. Will they double down on their decision, or will they listen to the overwhelming outcry from players and fans alike? Will they step up and enforce fair play across the board, or will this become yet another example of inconsistency in officiating and discipline? One thing is for certain, Caitlin Clark isn't backing down. She's furious, yes, but she's also fired up. She's ready to keep fighting, not just for herself, but for her teammates and the future of the league. And with players like Sophie Cunningham by her side, the Indiana Fever are becoming one of the most compelling stories in basketball today. As the season marches on, this moment could very well be a turning point. It's lit a fire under the Fever, galvanized their fanbase, and drawn attention to issues that can no longer be ignored. Caitlin Clark's voice is growing louder, and so is the chorus of support behind her. Whether the WNBA listens remains to be seen. But one thing is undeniable. After what happened to Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark is more determined than ever to stand up, speak out, and lead her team to greatness.